Hey there. Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, it's André with another short for the Impulsive Thinker Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. If you want more information on CADAC, you can find them at www.caddac.ca. I was drafting some tools, some concepts for my ADHD transformation journey about how to identify triggers. Then I started to recollect. A lot lately, a lot's been going on with my engineering company and trying to develop the program and also helping my wife continue on and building her startup bakery that's gluten-free, egg-free, and dairy-free. And then the question popped into my mind. Why do emotions just take over and rule us? Why does it control me? Why do I have a hard time stopping? Why? So I started to think about it more. And then I started to, we got this one idea about how the ADHD brain can get engaged when things are interesting, challenging, novel, and urgent. So that popped into my mind. And I'm like, well, it's not related. It has nothing to do with why my emotions can't be stopped. And the funny thing is, when my emotions grab a hold of me and I'm beyond, I'm consciously, part of my brain, like me, Andre, the person, the real good person is looking, dude, like, this is your brain taking over and lashing out, letting it, like, you've got to stop, man. And then my brain that's lashing out going, you know what, buddy? I'm not listening to you. I know you know what you know, but I'm going to continue anyways. And this is not a position that no one wants to be. This is not a position anyone wants to admit that they're in, let alone especially in the middle. And it makes no sense. And that's what's really confusing to the person if they're not diagnosed or have no idea what's going on. It's confusing that one part of your brain is going all out and just crazy, yelling and screaming and taking over. And then, your body's enjoying it and things are getting pumped. And then the real person of you going, dude, like, settle down. And you get this battle and you can't stop it. And when it's at that point, it's too late, but it's an internal struggle that no one comprehends except the people who live it. So why did interesting, novel, challenging, and urgent pop into my mind? It's not really related to the emotion. So I pushed that aside. Then I started thinking some more. I says, if I'm going to work on how to understand these triggers, then why is it we can get to these things? Because what happened then, a couple hours later, I was really hyper-focusing on working on some good content for you guys. And then all of a sudden, one of my engineering guys interrupted me. Not his fault. He was doing what he was asked. We got to a project where he needed my input, and I told him to come when he's ready, and he did. But that irked me. Impulsively irked me. Oh, I'm out of hyper-focus. Damn it. Oh, now I got to deal with this. It's going to be silly, stupid questions. One of the things, and this is what my brain's doing immediately, impulsively. Then I got, okay, I'm going to take a breath. All right, now we're good. Take another breath. Take another breath. Okay. What would you like? And it turned out it was very valid. It wasn't silly. It wasn't stupid. But that's what the brain does, right? Especially when you're interrupted and hyperfocused, especially when it took me an hour and a half to get into focus, to do this thing, finally get going, right? But anyways, it's not the other person's fault. They did exactly what I asked. I got that problem solved. But that bothered me. But it bothered me to the point of, intellection here. Like, it was like, why did that irritation bother me? Because the next thing I also noticed while I was doing it, I was trying to rush. I was trying to rush the answer. I was trying to push him away quickly so I can to get back to what I was doing. But then I was a bit snarky. I wasn't really overly polite. I was way more polite than I have been in the past, but still wasn't. And that bothered me. So Then the interesting, challenging, novel, and urgency thought popped back in my mind. The irritation now was an early warning, like before I got angry to full rage. Then it started to make sense to me now. Okay? So the emotions take over and control you, and you have a hard time stopping. And why is that? What I kind of observed at that time was I was reacting to an irritation. Okay. And that irritation would not go away until I dealt with them. And since I want to go back to the hyper focus, this is all subconscious. This is not conscious thinking. I believe this is what's going on. Now that I'm aware of it, I can see this pattern. But subconsciously, we want the irritation to go away and we want it to go ASAP. So at that time, for that scenario, I can go back to hyper focus as I was on a roll. Because I know if that discussion went too long, I would forget my thought path and I'd have to do another hour and a half start up and get back into the mood. Okay. So since I want it gone ASAP, I want it gone as soon as possible. I think that was the big revelation for me. I just want that irritation to get the hell away. Okay. Now I want urgency. Now the urgency part's coming in. All right. Now it's urgent for me to get rid of this irritation. So now it becomes challenging. How do I get rid of it? And unfortunately, if we're not really keeping our emotions in check here and our impulsivity, then the words that we use can be started to become damaging to the relationships with staff or family or friends. So then I start thinking about some more. That's very interesting. I truly believe that. We're reacting to an irritation and we want it gone as soon as possible. That's what we do. Instead of just saying, just get present, see if the irritation can just pass, or is it really something to react with or deal, like, do we need to react to it or deal with it or just deal with it and get rid of it? No, the brain's going, it's an irritation. I'm protecting you. I want you to get rid of it as fast as possible so we can go back to what we were doing happy. What we were doing, we were really happy. Let's go. Okay. Then thinking back in my past and recent episodes, I'm not perfect. I'm going to be able to master it, but it's not going to be perfect. Shit's going to happen that it's going to slip. But what I found was the bigger the irritation, the bigger the emotion that builds up, and then the bigger the reaction. What do you think about that? If you got a small irritation, you get a little snippy. But if it's a bigger irritation, is your reaction a lot bigger? And this is where a lot of people can start saying, whoa, I think you're overreacting to something here. Which is true. Our brain is overreacting, right? And then the bigger the urgency to get it removed, I think it's when we go all in and just go bonkers. That's what I was thinking. What do you think about that? So just to sum up, why is it when an emotion takes over and controls you, and I believe you understand what I'm talking about. It's not something we want to admit that happens, but it happens. So when that emotion controls you and you have a hard time stopping, but why? I think it's because we are reacting to an irritation that we want it to go away and we want it gone ASAP because it was interrupting something we were really, really enjoying to do and it's going to take time to get back into it. The other insight I got was the bigger the irritation, the bigger the reaction, and the bigger the emotion. So what we have to do is minimize these irritations. Either we get rid of them, delegate them, just don't do them. Or when we know we got a big irritation, if we got this awareness, we can take breaths and calm down and mitigate it. Either we say, you know what, not right now. You just disrupted me in my hyperfocus. I need time to finish this so that I can go back to you. And I think that's what I should have done now that I'm talking about it out loud now. Instead of instead of answering his questions and dealing with the questions he had for the project, I should say, can I have another half hour to get this thought done? And I'm all yours. And I would have been snippy and I would have been more present to help him, especially he's a junior engineer. What are your thoughts on that? I'd like to hear from you about this idea or concept. You can send to me at questions@theimpulsivethinker.com. I really like to hear about what other people's thoughts on this because I think this is a big insight for me. I think it's for everyone to be aware of. So anyways, thanks again for listening to my blabbering and my weird thinking and unique way of perceiving things. I'd like to hear from you. If you find this is of value, please share it with someone. 2, 3, 4 people would be great. Share a comment, rate this podcast so we can get out to more people. And thanks again with your gift of time for letting me talk your ear off and that I can learn and you can learn. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.